Good morning, my dear friends. Today's topic is who is consumer under Consumer Protection Act 1986. We are discussing kinds of consumers. Consumer of services, consumer of goods. What is the meaning of consumer? Consumer who buys the goods. Consumer who avails the services. They are consumers. Consumer who is the person who is buying the goods for consideration. He has to pay something. If he gets something free, he is not a consumer. Consumer is a person who partly paid consideration, or consumer is a person who partly promised to pay the consideration. Consumer is a person who agrees to pay consideration under a system of deferred payment. So, consumer who obtains goods for resale is not a consumer. Consumer who obtains goods for commercial purpose is not a consumer. So, consumer includes user of goods other than purchaser, but used to be made with the approval of the purchaser. Now, consumer of services. This also consumer of services for consideration. If there is a free service, no consideration, then he is not a consumer. Consumer who partly paid consideration for the services. Consumer who partly promised to pay the consideration. Consumer who agrees to pay the consideration under system of deferred payment for services. So, consumer includes beneficiary services of also. Who person who hires the services for consideration. In addition to that, the beneficiaries, they are also consumers. Such services should be used with the approval of the person availed the services. Now, we will take some examples of consumers. Any person who uses the goods with the approval of the buyer is a consumer. A purchased a scooter from seller. Scooter was in B's possession. B had taken the scooter to the seller for repairs from time to time. B had a complaint regarding the scooter. He made a complaint to the seller. Seller said, "You did not buy the scooter from me. Hence, you are not a consumer under the Act." It was held that B was using the scooter with the approval of A and he was a consumer under the Act. Another example, A purchased a jeep to run it as a taxi. Whether the buyer of the jeep was a consumer? Buyer is not consumer. He used the jeep as a taxi to earn profit. He is not a consumer. Another example, A buys a truck for plying it as a public carrier by himself. He is a consumer. A buys a truck and hires a driver to ply. He is not a consumer. A has both the cloth shops as well as photograph shops, photocopier shops. He buys photocopy machines. He is not a consumer under the Act. Now, consumer of services. A person is a consumer of services if he satisfies the following conditions. 1. Services that are hired or availed, rendered free of charge does not fall under the scope of the consumer. So, beneficiary of services is also consumer. There are two conditions. Free of charge services, then he is not a consumer. A beneficiary of services is also a consumer. For example, A goes to a doctor to get a treatment. He is hiring the services of a doctor. A is a consumer. Passenger getting railway reservation after payment. He is hiring services for consideration. He is a consumer. A presented before the sub-registrar a document claiming that it is a will for registration and it is sent to the collector for stamps for registration. National Commission held that A was not a consumer because there was no hiring of services for consideration. Government officers are doing their duty under law. Now, beneficiary of services is also consumer. Who is beneficiary of services? Person may hire services for himself or for any other person. So, other person of user of services is also called consumer. He is a beneficiary of services. A takes his son B to a doctor for treatment. A is a hirer of services of the doctor. B is a beneficiary of services. Both A and B are consumers. S supplied to the electricity board for electricity connection for floor mill. A applied to the electricity board for electric connection for his mill. He was a consumer under the Act. We will take one case law. Spring Meadows Hospital versus Harjat Aulwal. Parents hired the services of hospital for treatment for their minor son. Due to the negligence of the hospital, the son suffered brain damage. It is held that son can claim compensation as being beneficiary of a services. Commission ordered compensation of rupees 12.50 lakhs to the minor child for brain damage caused to him. In this case, parents are also consumers as the hirer of the services and then can also claim compensation. The commission ordered to pay rupees 5 lakhs to the parents of the child. And thank you.